The fall of Shady Sands and the nuking of Shady Sands do not happen at the same time. They are two separate events. What? This comment and a few others piqued my interest, so I decided to look into the whole fall of Shady Sands topic to see if there were people who actually believe this, and yeah, there are. In fact, it has become somewhat of a debate and a point of confusion between fans over when Shady Sands was nuked. Some say the show implies it was nuked in 2282, but others say that the show clearly points to 2277. This came to me as a great surprise, because, to me at least, it was obvious which of the dates were supported by the show itself. I'm going to say something to you that you will probably never hear again in one of my videos. It is an objective fact that Shady Sands was nuked in 2277 based on the information the show gives us. The nukes and the fall are the same thing as presented by the Fallout TV show. Lucy McLean states that her father, Hank McLean, lost so much weight that he went down to 128 pounds in what Vault-33 came to call the Plague of 77. Later in the series, we learn that the Plague of 77 was actually an excuse used by Hank to leave the vault to find where his wife took his children, and that his weight loss was the result of him surviving the wasteland. While Hank was searching for his children and returning them to Vault 33, he nuked Shady Sands. This is proven when Lucy says that her mom died during the plague, and since there was no actual plague, we know that Lucy's mom had to have died by the nuclear bomb launched by Hank. I saw people trying to think of every way to keep the lore intact with Fallout New Vegas. Like, I saw somebody say that Hank stole his children, then nuked the city 4 years later, and that the fall referred to Hank stealing Lucy. I don't think Hank stealing Lucy would single-handedly begin the destruction of a society. However, this brings up an important question. What does the fall refer to, if not the nuke? I've seen people say that the fall was the failure of the NCR's economy, or a general decline in their society. However, this decline is never shown, nor spoken of in the show. Do you want to know why the supposed decline isn't ever shown? It's because the bombs dropped in 2277, and that it is the fall of Shady Sands. Another piece of evidence people have pointed to is the board in Vault 4. This fucking board. Somehow, they interpret the board as saying the NCR started falling in 2277 and then after the nuke happened because the timeline shows it after the fall. Even if we discard everything about Lucy's mom and the Plague of 77, this still proves that the nuke hit Shady Sands in 2277. Every point on the board has a date except for one, the nuke symbol. This nuke symbol doesn't have a date on it because its date is already written on the board with the fall of Shady Sands in 2277. I apologize in advance because I'm about to get really pedantic here. Two boxes with dates with a line passing between them denote time being passed on this timeline. The space between the fall and the nuke has no line between two dates because the nuke doesn't have a date. There is just an arrow pointing between the two images, which is completely different than every other denotation of time progressing. The arrow in this instance, using context clue, is representative of cause rather than something happening in the future. Also, using even more context, this is a classroom where they are teaching history to these children, and the date of the explosion of the NCR's most important city would probably be important to teach these students. Nowhere on the board do you see the date 2282, and do you want to know why? It's because the bomb fell in 2277. Historically speaking, too, the fall refers to the destruction, disillusionment, or capture of a given country or city. When people talk about the fall of Constantinople, they are talking about May 29th, 1453, when the Turks finally took over the city. They don't refer to the decline of the Byzantine Empire and then refer to the Turks capturing the city as something completely different afterwards. I know what Todd said, but I'm not talking about Todd. I'm talking about the Fall TV show by itself. And based on what it provides, the fall is the nukes, which happened in 2277. The reason it doesn't make sense when put up against Fallout New Vegas is because it is a retcon of that game, which decanonizes it. That is why Todd had to backpedal and put the date of the nukes at 2282, because they messed up in the show. Please, do not blow a gasket trying to fit the show in with New Vegas, because it is unintentionally designed to not fit in with that game. I completely understand messing up a date in the Fallout universe with all of its expansive lore. However, it is a valid criticism to say that the show didn't do its due diligence when adapting the material. It's weird to me how far some will go to make it seem like the show didn't mess up at all, and somehow actually did place the date of the nukes in 2282, when that date is never mentioned in the show itself. In order to analyze our media fairly, we need to look at it from all sides as objectively as possible. Making one mistake doesn't make the TV show bad. It's all the reasons in the video this comment came from, and more, which is why the show is bad, in my opinion. It is my opinion that this tiny mistake is telling of the carelessness that was put into adapting the lore of the games. But it is an objective fact that the TV series put the date of Shady Sands' destruction in 2277 which retroactively decanonized Fallout New Vegas, which is a flaw of the show. I really wanted to respond to this topic because it seemed to be confusing to a lot of people, so I hope this helped. However, that wasn't the only comment I wanted to respond to. Oh no, there is more. Like this gem. Yeah, if you don't like Fallout games, you can let go and go play something brainless, such as a first-person shitter. Plenty of them you kids cannot let go. Many of us like the post-apocalyptic world. Others like sci-fi or westerns, you name it. Your opinion is moot. Besides, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. You cannot tell people what they should or should not like because you don't like it. Oh my. I honestly cannot tell if this is like some form of rage bait. This legitimately made me laugh the first time I read it. It truly is peak comedy. The irony of saying that I should go play something brainless in a video where I'm lamenting how Fallout has become a brainless shooter, regurgitating old factions to make it Fallout themed, is not lost on me. Also, saying I don't like Fallout is straight wrong. My guy, I made the video because I do like Fallout and I want to see it get better. I complain not because I'm looking to be pissed off about something. I complain because I see a legitimate issue with the series that I want to see improved. Often, criticism comes from a place of love, not hate. And the reason I spent days editing a video to share my criticism of the series is because I love it that much. The line, opinions are like assholes, everyone has them, is fucking a beautiful work of art. Like, no shit, dude. Everyone has opinions. The video was always meant to be my opinion. I also like how he unilaterally dismisses my opinion because it doesn't matter or is worthless because he just sees me as a hater. Like, dude, okay, thanks. However, it is his last line, which truly baffles me. You cannot tell people what they should or should not like because you don't like it. My guy, the video is my opinion about the treatment of factions in the Fallout series. Whether or not people agree with my opinion is their prerogative. I am merely telling my opinion in that video and why I feel that way so others can evaluate the Fallout series and draw their own conclusions. Yes, I hope people agree with me, but I'm only criticizing the series from my own perspective, not saying Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas good, Bethesda bad because I don't like Bethesda, so you can't like it either. The reason I don't say, hey guys, just a reminder that this entire video is just Shady Sands' opinion and you can draw whatever conclusions you want from my opinion is because I respect the intelligence of my audience enough to expect that they could discern that the video where I'm talking about my opinions is, in fact, an opinion piece. Someone can like how the factions are treated in the Bethesda titles. That is fine. They have every right to think that way. The point of the video was to show people how Fallout's inability to let go of factions has been detrimental from my point of view, and, hopefully, to convince other people of that fact with my arguments, not tell people what they can and cannot like based on my opinions. I mean, I guess I'm sorry. I thought that was obvious from the nature of the video. Anyway, moving on. Here's probably the goofiest comment I got on the video. Tell me you don't know what you're talking about without telling me you don't know what you're talking about. First of all, in Fallout 76, so much has changed since 2019, so you shouldn't have even commented on that at all. Which, that is actually a fair criticism, but this is where it gets real goofy. Second of all, in the Fallout TV series, when they get the cold fusion device you see, the Vault-Tec logo is on it. There is no confirmation that the facility where they are training dogs is the Enclave. That's just your headcanon and assumption. It was more than likely a Vault-Tec facility because the cold fusion device that he smuggled out of there had a Vault-Tec logo on it, and the lady who was leading the NCR, who took Lucy's dad, had a direct contact with that guy, and we saw in the flashbacks that she was enemies of Vault-Tec. So, most likely, the scientist who was training the dogs is also a Vault-Tec scientist because we find out that there is a Vault-Tec facility where all the Vault-Tec leaders are, and so that scientist was probably part of the facility that was linked to them and not the Enclave, because there's no confirmation that that place was the Enclave in the entire series in the first place.
The denizen of the Enclave.
I honestly do not think I need to say anything except for that first clip. Like, dude, the fact he started this with, tell me you don't know what you're talking about without telling me you don't know what you're talking about, while making the most ass claim imaginable is just hilarious. Like, thank you, dude. Like, you really made me laugh. I cannot tell if this guy even watched the show or not because this is explicitly stated in the first episode. However, unlike this comment, I actually did get some good criticism on the video, like what this person said. I loved your video until the end. You should play 76 and do more research because not playing it since 2019 is a detriment to the video itself. This is a very fair criticism of the video, and I apologize for not playing the game for the review. It definitely weakened my authority on the topic, so I'll be rectifying that in the future with an actual playthrough. I got a few comments which sung the praises of Fallout 76, so I'm actually interested to see how the game has improved in the years since I've played it. I'm not even going to watch the video before I say this. I'm not even going to read this comment before I say this, but you're wrong. Before you go on commenting, maybe challenge your own opinions by watching the video. Then, if you aren't convinced, comment your piece on the topic. Show everyone your opinion is strong enough to withstand a counter opinion. Also, be open-minded. Don't just go into a video with your heart dead set on this idea to the point you're unwilling to hear someone else's take on the matter. Give them a fair shot at least. Anyway, let me read the rest of this dog water comment. The two most powerful groups in the wasteland not having influence all over the United States is just dumb. Before you argue, but the Enclave has been destroyed, they're completely shattered, you'd be stupid to think the pre-war United States government wouldn't have dozens or even hundreds of bunkers like Raven Rock or the White Spring scattered across the US. I strongly believe the Enclave is still the biggest threat and probably biggest army in the wasteland, the Brotherhood coming behind them. Regardless of the context with which you made this comment, your argument is still rather curious to me. The idea that the pre-war government would have dozens or hundreds of bunkers is not supported in the games whatsoever, to my knowledge. It's just a mere headcanon. The Enclave in lore exists in California, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and White Spring. Even if there were this supposed massive Enclave force hiding away, why would they just allow massive and vitally important bases like Raven Rock and Navarro and the oil rig and Adams Air Base to be destroyed without trying to do anything to help their fellow Enclave comrades? This massive underground army could have easily disposed of the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 3. Instead, they just stood idly by while their president was destroyed and their comrades were eradicated. So not only is your point complete headcanon, it's not even logical. Fallout New Vegas also stands in direct contrast to this point by showing how the Enclave remnants had nowhere to go after the Enclave's destruction, and were largely integrated into other societies by the 2280s. To the point you make about the Brotherhood, yes, they have ballooned in power immensely under Bethesda, but I doubt even they'd be able to have a presence literally everywhere across America. Even if the Brotherhood is written to be able to project that much power, it doesn't make the creative decision to make their Brotherhood that powerful a good one. It instantaneously evaporates all interest I have in every area of the US because I've already seen the Brotherhood enough. I'm gonna be real with you, you have so much confidence in this argument, yet it's so dog water. Speaking of dog water comments, we have this lovely commenter. People cry and cry about Bethesda bringing up the Brotherhood of Steel and Enclave in every game, when the Enclave only actually shows up in Fallout 3. No, 76 does not count. Beyond that, it seems the main complaint is that Bethesda uses elements from Fallout setting, Nuka-Cola, power armor, etc. when creating Fallout games, which I guess is something I'm supposed to be mad about? Very weird behavior. And all the crying about Bethesda using existing factions is funny because the old Fallout fans had a meltdown over the idea that the NCR was destroyed and thus could not be used in a future game. Guess using the old factions is okay when Obsidian does it. So Fallout 76 absolutely does count as an Enclave appearance, and so does Fallout 4 retroactively with the next gen update. And you might disagree with me on Fallout 4, but Fallout 76 definitely counts. I don't know why this dude dismisses their appearance in Fallout 76. It just feels weird, but okay. Saying the main complaint that Bethesda uses elements from Fallout settings when creating Fallout games is extremely reductive and misrepresents the argument I made in the video. For some reason, this guy uses Nuka-Cola and power armor as the examples of elements Bethesda was reusing. Now, I really don't know where this guy got these examples from, because I never mentioned Nuka-Cola or power armor in my video aside from the beginning, where I was describing the cover arts. I never made the argument that bringing back power armor in Nuka-Cola was bad. So I don't know why this person even mentioned these items. Then, the last paragraph. I guarantee 90% of the people who are mad about the NCR's destruction aren't mad because they couldn't be used in another Fallout game. The reason people are pissed that the NCR got destroyed is because of how they got destroyed. It was rushed, illogical, and was based off the insane motivations of Hank. The NCR is a massive nation. To be completely destroyed in 15 years by one nuke and the meager Brotherhood forces on the West Coast is a completely asinine way to write this faction out of a story.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Also, this last sentence just hurts me. Guess using old factions is okay when Obsidian does it. Use context for 4 consecutive seconds and you'll realize why people aren't mad that Obsidian used old factions. Where does New Vegas take place? That's right, in Las Vegas and the surrounding Mojave Desert. This is very close to where Fallout 1 and 2 took place, so it makes sense why the Brotherhood and Super Mutants would still be around. Also, both factions get great development, which enhances their return, and there are 3 other factions new to this game who are much more powerful than the old ones. The Enclave in New Vegas are gone because New Vegas understood how to let some factions go. New Vegas has infinitely more reason to have the Brotherhood, Super Mutants, and Enclave in the game compared to the Bethesda games, but chose to have each in a diminished state to reflect their failures and declines over time. The reason people don't like how Bethesda uses old ideas in their games is because they are illogically copy-pasted from one side of the country to the other. They get no or ass development. They are used to stagnate the world of Fallout, and on and on. I want to go back to the destruction of Shady Sands for a moment, though, because I got so many comments along the lines of, well, they destroyed the NCR, so why are you mad, bro? I want to make clear that I think the destruction of the NCR is not a bad decision and has so much narrative potential. If the show had the destruction of the NCR come from its own faults and corruption, and the show explored how and why the NCR fell because of its faults, then this progression in lore could have been amazing. What if, instead of Hank pulling a nuke out of his ass, people lost faith in the NCR due to its inefficiency and inability to provide basic government services like protecting trade routes from raiders? As a result of the government's failures, what if people turned to local leaders who were providing those services to their people? The NCR could then devolve into a warlord period akin to China in the 1920s, with local warlords and leaders constantly warring with each other for control over California in the power vacuum of the NCR's collapse. This would also give credence to Hank McClane's ideology that the wasteland needs intentional guidance under Vault-Tec to avoid creating a society plagued by war, using the collapse of NCR as proof of that fact. Of all the ways the writers could have taken to write the fall of the NCR, they chose probably the worst and least satisfying way. Hank pulls a nuke out of his ass, blows up one of the NCR cities, somehow the entire society collapses, and none of it is explored in an interesting way. The NCR's destruction should play a massive role in a series taking place in California just 15 years at the NCR's peak in power, but it just doesn't, because the writers really wanted to get the NCR out of the way as fast as possible. In short, I don't think destroying the NCR is a bad idea. I think the execution of how the NCR is destroyed in the show is horrendous. Letting go is great, but you have to do it in the right way. No, you can talk to one mutant in Fallout 76. His name is Graham. Please, I'm a bigger fan of 76, and honestly, I think this guy is no better than the vegan teacher, just looking for a reason to complain. Wow, that's so great you can talk to a singular mutant in Fallout 76. So we went from 2 in Fallout 3 to 3 in Fallout 4 and back down to 1 in 76. Great. I already said this, but no, I don't just look for a reason to be mad. I don't want to dislike any of the Fallout games and how they use Fallout factions. But when I see a legitimate flaw in this series, I'm going to point it out because I want it to be improved. Man, I was going to watch this and then realize it's more of Bethesda's bad and here's why video essay. Not saying they are bad, but people need to let go of the fact that they are. Letting go of the fact that Bethesda is bad and expecting them to produce garbage should not have to be the case. We shouldn't have to put up with garbage and just expect it. We should expect more from our products and these multi-billion-dollar companies. Otherwise, dog shit becomes the new normal. So yes, you're partially right that people have to let go of the fact that Bethesda is bad and not expect good Fallout games anymore. But people shouldn't let go of expecting or wanting high-quality products from these companies. Therefore, me and numerous other people will continue to call Bethesda on their shitty game design and lore choices because we want it to change, and it should change. Yes, Vault-Tec has nuclear bombs. The Vault-Tec logo is even on the bombs you encounter in the Capital Wasteland, Fallout 3, and the Mojave, Fallout New Vegas. The game was rigged from the start. Farewell NCR. Nice reference to Benny there. Rep Matthew Perry. But if you are referring to this symbol, then I have to inform you, you are unfortunately wrong. There's a great short on this topic by I'm Jet, who has just the sexiest voice. But this symbol and the Vault-Tec symbol are completely different. Also, it is heavily implied in canon that it was the Chinese who dropped the bombs first. For example, why would Vault-Tec nuke Barb Howard's daughter when she explicitly wanted her daughter and Cooper in a vault? And she was very clearly the one leading this initiative to blow up the world. Why would Mr. House be surprised by the bombs coming 20 hours earlier when he knew that it was Vault-Tec who was going to destroy the world? This nuke in Megaton is most likely a Chinese one, based on how the lore implies the Chinese launched the nukes first.
We were winning too, and then those damn Reds launched. We barely got our birds up.
However, I could be disproven in the future by the Fallout series. If this was a Vault-Tec bomb, then the entire core of the series is thoroughly destroyed. But I'll get to that in my analysis of the TV show later. The Enclave didn't really have a goal. Tell me you didn't listen without telling me you didn't listen to the game. The Enclave has really weird motivations that aren't defined or even understandable. Eden wants to kill a mutant, but Autumn wants to give the people water. They have the same motivations as the West Coast, with them wanting to kill all mutated humans. My brother in Christ. I never even said this line of dialogue. tell me you didn't listen to my video without telling me you didn't listen to my video. Wait, why am I getting deja vu? Ugh, anyway. You say Autumn wanted the same thing, but in the game, this is literally not true. Colonel Autumn does not want the same thing as President Eden. That's why the president had to go to the Lone Wanderer to bring the FEV virus to the water purifier, because Colonel Autumn wanted something completely different to President Eden. Otherwise, President Eden would have just sent Colonel Autumn to do his bidding for him. And it's literally stated in the game that President Eden and Colonel Autumn disagreed about how to use the FEV virus. Did you even pay attention to the game, my guy? Alright, I'm gonna go through a rapid round real quick. So first off, we got, why are the survivors of the NCR in a cult now? If he's talking about Vault 4, those are civilians of Shady Sands. So, you mean survivors of the NCR? Because Shady Sands is the capital of the NCR, of which those people are residents. Meaning, they are survivors of the NCR. What was even the point of commenting this? Just because somebody isn't a soldier of a nation doesn't mean that they're not a part of that nation. Like, just because I'm not a Marine doesn't mean I'm not an American. So, calling these people survivors of the NCR would be correct. I don't know. I loved your video, but I have one criticism. Vault-Tec took control of the nukes in West Virginia during the time of Fallout 76 by having the dwellers connect them to the nuke system. The computer during that quest says Vault-Tec assumed control of those silos. That is interesting. I actually didn't know that. So Vault-Tec had control of the bombs by 2100. Which means that for like the past 190 years, they've had access to nuclear bombs. Now, my only issue with that is if the whole idea for Vault-Tec is that they want the surface to just be them, only Vault-Tec, and anyone else who survives up there is a threat to them, just as the new NCR was, wouldn't they just be nuking everyone over again? Like, if they had access to the nukes by 2100, wouldn't they just nuke the Brotherhood out of existence because that's a threat to their monopoly and them winning the game of capitalism? Todd Howard confirmed the fall of Shady Sands is in 2281 after Vegas. Can you not read the board? So first off, in the video, I was never talking about Todd Howard. I was talking about the TV show. And secondly, what board are you talking about? Because if you're talking about the Vault 4 chalkboard, 2281 is not on the board anywhere. And I've already discussed how the arrow is causation, not a date. And in the context of the story, it makes no sense for Shady Sands to be blown up after 2281. Also, can you not read the board? Because the fall of Shady Sands is labeled right under 2277 or over. Just a lot of yapping, TBH. It makes complete sense to bring the factions back in Fallout 3. Maybe not from a lore standpoint, but from a production standpoint, it does. Just because it's good from a production standpoint does not mean it's good for the game. I'm not going to judge something based on whether or not it's good for business. I don't care about the business. I care about quality of the product. So if something's bad for the product but good for business, I'm going to call them out on that because it's a bad choice for the game. I don't really know what this point is. Later on in this paragraph, this guy says, really all that it comes down to is execution. It all could work with them bringing back factions, they just don't do it well. So stop complaining about them reusing old things and start complaining about them making products that aren't as good as they used to be. Dude, like, the entire... Oh my god. In no universe should the Brotherhood be on the East Coast. Because in Fallout 2, they're already starting their decline into complete irrelevance. In no uncertain terms should FEV be all across the country. It just doesn't make any sense from a logical standpoint. The issue isn't just solely, oh, it's bad execution. It's that these are things that should not be in some places. And by having them in so many places, it makes the believability of this world worse. Why are rat scorpions in DC? It's a swamp. Why? It's not only about the execution of reusing old things. It's also about the fact that they keep doing it. So your point here, I don't understand. Also, the last little paragraph here, also side note, that scene with the doctor running past the turrets is exactly like the games. There are countless times in the games where I've ran past turrets or stood completely still for minutes and not been shot. You just like to complain. And people do call Kaiser's Legion poorly written and cartoonishly evil. It is poorly written and not fleshed out enough. They don't get enough time when making the game to flesh them out enough. Just because the show does something that's similar to the games does not mean it's executed well, and it also doesn't mean that everything in the game should be translated to an entirely new medium. There are some things that work in video games that don't work in real life. Case in point, this scene, which is butt fucking terrible. And then, you just like to complain. No, I don't. I like to be critical of my media. I apologize. I like quality products. And people do call Kaiser's Legion poorly written. Well, there are probably like a fraction of people who do, but sure, yeah, maybe there is. It is poorly written and not fleshed out enough. I would disagree. I mean, that's your opinion, just as it is mine. I think they are one of the best written factions in all of gaming. The perfect example of how to write a evil faction, but, fair enough. And, I mean, they didn't get enough time with making the game to flesh them out. I would say they did. Kaiser pretty efficiently fleshes out this entire faction, so I don't know. But the rest of your thing, I don't know. It's a bunch of Japanese. I don't really speak this language. It's kind of new to me, so I'm not even going to try. My accent is horrible. You wouldn't want to hear it. I don't get the beef with the Brotherhood and Enclave. Is that a question? And maybe just watch the video. Easy as that.
Nothing I despise more than Fallout New Vegas meat riders.
This will be the last comment I respond to. I only have so much energy. This is probably the most common phrase I see whenever somebody criticizes Bethesda's Fallouts. I guess this guy ignored the fact that I blew both Fallout 1 and 2 in my video, not just New Vegas. However, no one ever says, oh, I hate Fallout 1 and 2 meat riders. No one ever says, oh, I just hate Empire Strike Back meat riders. Or I hate Terminator 2 meat riders. Where does this hate for praising New Vegas come from? Because I would argue that each of those examples have equally as ubiquitous praise as New Vegas does. It's weird to me because I would never say to somebody who likes Fallout 3, 4, or 76, or the TV show, ugh, I hate Bethesda meat riders. No, you are entitled to your opinion, and while I might disagree with you, I would respect that opinion. I apologize if it comes off as me being a meat rider, but I praise the game because of its merits, just as I praise Fallout 1 and 2. I want these 3 games to be an example for others of what this medium can achieve, because each of them are just that good. The Bethesda games have their merits, and I still think the worst of them, Fallout 3, is still a solid 6 out of 10. The reason I don't give a layered and detailed analysis of every Fallout game and their individual strengths and weaknesses is because that wasn't the point of the video. The point of the video was to highlight how these 3 games did something well, and these 4 installments didn't. It wasn't to make an 8-hour balanced analysis. Even if I did make that 8-hour balanced analysis, New Vegas would still have more positives than every other Bethesda game, because it is my opinion that that game is better. And no, I'm not just a Bethesda hater. It doesn't matter to me who develops the game. It could be Treyarch or CD Projekt Red for all I care. But if it is bad, I will give it a fair analysis. Fortunately, all the Bethesda games have failed to live up to their predecessors. Try to understand why people keep saying Bethesda's Fallouts aren't as good as what came before, because people do have legitimate reasons to have that opinion, just as people have a legitimate reason to like some of Bethesda's games. Not everyone who disagrees with you is just a hater or a meat rider. Often, they have their own legitimate opinions and wish to see due credit given to the games they feel deserve it. Also, if you despise nothing more than people who like New Vegas, then you have to reevaluate a few things. There are many things to despise in this world that I would think should come before an opinion about a video game. Anyway, this video was all just in good fun, and please don't harass any of these people. I really enjoyed reading the comments, and many were funny and supportive. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day.